Goals versus craving. Never really heard this put in the way that you put it, and I think it's really fascinating. And again, I'll quote you. I've never quoted a guest so much as today. And this is something you've said before. If the mind is craving, then the mind is suffering. And if the mind is suffering, then that means we are not quite free. Tell me about craving.
This was probably one of the biggest moments, most important moments in my life, was when I did my first Vipassana course. There was a teacher there, and he was amazing. And I asked him a question because I wanted to know, the Buddha put so much energy into trying to become free, trying to become fully liberated. And I asked the teacher, I was like, wasn't the Buddha craving? If craving is, that's what's causing our suffering. And he looks at me and he says the simplest thing. He just says, there's a difference between having a goal and having a craving. And that subtlety to me was never illuminated. And literally the moment, and years since, to this day, I still think about that often because I want to be able to work in a detached manner because I think that's actually the most efficient way to work, where yes, I have goals, yes, I have aspirations, yes, I have preferences, but I'm trying not to turn them into attachments, right? Because it's cravings that create our attachments. When a craving becomes strong enough, it causes this mental attachment that will then lead us into further misery. But when you can understand that if I make my happiness dependent on accomplishing this future goal, then that means that I eliminate my ability to be happy now. But what happens when you actually accomplish it, right? Even though you're craving it, you may eventually get there and you accomplish your goal and you're still not happy. I think that really illuminated the fact that I need to figure out how to be happy right now, right? Even though I have goals, even though I have preferences, how can I be happy right now so that yes, one day when I achieve them, okay, I will be able to enjoy the fruits of my labor, but I will still have that happiness that I had then and I have now. And to me, that was critical because if you're not working in a detached manner, then, that means automatically that your mind is cloudy. That means that you don't have that mental clarity to be able to make optimal decisions to really do your best. And I think that slows down all the work. So understanding that subtlety, having a goal is not the same as having a craving. Really, if your goal, if you don't accomplish it in the time span that you want to accomplish it in, and you start feeling that intense misery, then that actually wasn't a goal, it was a craving. And being able to take yourself back and, really sort of analyze, where is all of this energy coming from? Is it coming from an intelligent place, or am I just sort of directing myself into further misery? I think it's critical.
Yeah, this is something I meditate on all the time, and it's, again, easier said than done.
Oh yeah, all this stuff is easier said than done.
I'm so goal-oriented. My whole life has been goal-oriented. It's just like, get an MIT, get the grade point average, get the job on Wall Street, make your first $1 million, do the show, get the show to this, and it's just like all that stuff. But when I actually think to myself, this is a great exercise for anybody listening. If you ever say to yourself, consciously or subconsciously, when this happens, then I'll be happy.
Oh, you're done.
That's the sign that if you believe that, that means you'll never be happy.
You already lost. Yeah, you already lost. I think that's the key is if I can't be happy right now, I'm not going to be happy later. I have to figure out what are the ways that I can not only be able to appreciate the present moment, because we forget the most essential parts of our life. We're so busy craving for more things, craving for the $1 million, craving the degrees, the social prestige, that we forget that we have air, we have water, we have food, we have these essential things that, we're blessed to have, and not everybody has them, right? There's still about 60,000 people a day who die from hunger. And to not, to sort of skip that gratitude, that shows that, we're lost in the future and we're lost in the past.
So we can practice gratitude, which is a great way to try to be happy in the present. But what if that doesn't work? That means you probably need to go in deep on the meditation and deep inside. Because you can say, we'll do a gratitude practice, and someone will, okay, I'll try this every single day. But that isn't necessarily going to do it for everyone, right?
No. I think having a gratitude practice does sort of, you're trying to realign yourself, realign your character in a particular way, but you have to understand that a lot of that is happening on the conscious level of the mind. And the real work, the real inner work, you need a practice that will take you into the subconscious of the mind, because that's where all the patterns are rapidly moving that are sort of, forcing your present moment to be in a very particular way that actually mirrors the past. And when you're able to go into that subconscious and release those patterns, and you give yourself the breathing room to decide, oh, right, that's how I used to behave, but now I'm going to act a different way because I think this is actually a bit smarter. That's when the real work is happening. So, I think in a very real way, gratitude is the opposite of craving, but to be able to feel the most profound forms of gratitude, it takes that inner work to really dig out those roots of craving from inside you.
Yeah, I agree. And I love gratitude practices. And I teach a lot of this stuff in our academy, and just trying to get people to start a meditation practice, which is don't judge it, just do it. And then gratitude, I'm a big fan of. I'd rather you do a gratitude practice than not.
Oh, but yeah. Something's better than nothing.
Yeah, and I think over time it can do wonders for you.
Yeah.
But I agree, there's this deep level in your subconscious that's, in chess terms, it's 4 moves ahead of your conscious, right? I mean,
yeah.
And it's already got the narrative, and it's based on your past, and it'll outsmart your conscious mind a lot of times.
One metaphor that really sticks with me is it's really important to understand that the same way, right, we're in this building right now, we're very safe. This building was made with really good tools. The same way that those who created this place had good tools, we need to find tools for ourselves to build a palace of peace inside of us. And over time, we realized that, okay, these tools that I had, right, they did give me some benefit, but now I might actually need sharper tools and go out there and find something that will take me a little deeper. Because when you feel like, yes, the practice has given me, a certain degree of success, but then you start kind of plateauing, or you feel like, oh, I can go a little deeper, I have a little more courage than I had before, I can do this. Then that's fine, go out there, find the tools, because people are making amazing strides in their freedom. I mean, I have a lot of people that I look up to in this, in the meditation practice that I'm a part of, that are incredibly, incredibly advanced, and it's so inspiring. But, realizing where you are, finding the tools that meet you where you're at. So the advice I like to give people is, the tool that's for you is something that's challenging, but not overwhelming. You want to find that sweet spot for yourself, because if it's challenging enough, it will make you stronger. But if it's way too overwhelming and it brings up too many things too fast for you, then you're just going to stop, right? You're not going to be able to do that work to really move forward. But that sweet spot is really important, finding something that's challenging and not overwhelming.
Yeah, and all the tools are out there. I mean, there's no real excuse these days to not have these practices in your life.
Especially if you live in a major city, it's out there.
Yeah, it's out there. And I think, again, back to Tim Ferriss, I think he interviewed all of these top level people in one of his books, Tribe of Mentors, and it was something like 70% had a meditation practice.
Right.
It's like, what else? I mean, how much more information do you need? I still force myself every day to meditate, no matter what. And some days I really want to get up and mess with my little boys, and I don't have much time in the morning, but I wake up, I brush my teeth, I go back to bed, and I sit upright in the bed and I meditate every day. And the reason I do it is because I know if I stop, even for 2 weeks, I'm going to turn into Brian that I don't like.
Right.
And I don't like that guy, and he's got bad habits, and he's going to start behaving in ways that I can't control. But if I do this every day, I can control that, I think.
I think so too. I mean, I do it for the same reason, right? I put a lot of time into meditating, and it's interesting because I think when people hear 2 hours a day, that sounds like, wow, that's too much. There's a very sort of averse reaction I get from some people, not everyone, but to be really honest with you, my level of productivity was nothing compared to what it is now. I can do so much more because I give myself those 2 hours a day. And it doesn't subtract anything from my life. Actually, when you really start analyzing how you live in any particular day, there's a lot of time being wasted. So I'm much more optimally using my time. And when I sit down, I work on actually releasing old patterns, really supporting that mental calmness, trying to support an equanimous mind, so that when I turn around and go to work, it's, it all flows so much better. And I really, myself, my wife is a scientist, she meditates too. She does the same thing, 2 hours a day, and her work life before she started meditating and where she is now, I mean, she's had an incredible success.
Yeah. I mean, if it's changing the quality of your life and everything else, then it's a great investment.
Right.
By definition.
You come up with solutions so much. One thing I like to tell people is oftentimes when I go away to these courses, I'll go and I'll have all these problems in my life. You know, the mind gets cloudy even over time, even if you're meditating, and then you come out and you're like, you just have tons of solutions because there actually was no problem to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was just thinking about the goal versus craving. Like, so for me with London Real, I mean, we have big goals. Like, we want to create this mass scale transformation of humanity. We want to make people more conscious, more cooperative, and we really want to make that change. And that's our goal. But it's like, is that a craving? What I try to make sure is that every day I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So I'm having this awesome conversation with you. If we never been able to do that, I'm still loving this.
Right.
So I just try to remember that. So be grateful, enjoy the work every day. I really want to get there, but if I don't, I died trying, you know, I enjoyed myself while I was doing it.
And I think one thing that really supports, actually being grateful for what's happening in this present moment is that you can set the goal, but don't set such a rigid time scale. Like, I'm going to, you know, have X amount of whatever at this set time. I'm going to give myself 6 months. It's like, that's a tough way to live. You know, you're setting yourself up for pretty big struggles and misery there. So the way when I have goals too, for my own meditation practice, for writing, for, you know, different aspects of my life. But one thing I've learned is to just move at my own pace. Like, yes, I'm put in effort, put in energy, but okay, yeah, if it doesn't happen within a year, it doesn't happen in 2 years, totally fine. Keep it going. You know, you're going to see results one way or another, especially if you have that strong determination to continue putting energy into it. But it doesn't need to be so rigid.
Yeah, one of my guests named Grant Cardone, who, you know, travels around the world in his own private jet, and most people don't think he's one type of guy, but he always says, you have a goal. He said, it's never a failure if you don't quit. He's like, so just keep working at the goal.
Keep going. Yeah.
Keep going, you know, and as long as you keep going, it's still a possibility and it's still something you can achieve.
Yeah, I think one of the most beautiful moments are when you don't get the goal and you feel okay. That's when you really know that it was a goal, that it was a real goal and not a craving. Is like, okay, I failed or I didn't quite get there yet. Absolutely fine. I'm going to go back to the drawing board. I'm going to keep going. And that's when you know that you're actually working very intelligently.
Yeah.